Hello and welcome back. Today we're talking about the advantage player. Now what's the difference between an advantage player and your average gambler? Well, your average gambler has no real strategy for winning. If they're feeling lucky, they'll buy a lottery ticket. If they're playing a slot machine, they might hit the button at a certain time. Now these things have no real bearing on whether they're going to win or whether they're going to lose. An advantage player, on the other hand, is always seeking an edge and will not play unless they have one. An edge is a positive expected value if the game is played continuously. Now, in the short term, they can lose just like anybody else. But in the long term, over a certain amount of time, they're going to build up a profit. Now, an edge is mechanical in nature. It skews a percentage, and it does so in one of two ways. It either skews what the payout is going to be, or it's going to skew the outcome. Now, the casinos are the greatest advantage players of all. And they can use both of those strategies. They can skew a payout, they can skew an outcome. But as a player, typically we can't skew what the payout's going to be. So our primary focus is on what the outcome is. Now, to demonstrate how an edge is created, I'm going to haul out a roulette wheel and show you on the wheel itself how the edge is created in that game. So without further ado, let's get to it. Okay, here we're looking at a standard American wheel. Now, if you were going to bet on black, it looks at first hand to be a fair deal. The payout is 1-to-1, and there's 18 red pockets and there's 18 black pockets. However, you lose if you hit the 0 or the double 0. Now, this skews the outcome. Okay, instead of being a 50-50 chance, with 18 black squares or 18 red squares, now you're going to lose if you hit the 18 red or the 2 green, the 0 and the double 0. So instead of having a 50-50 chance, you now have a 47% chance. And this is how the casinos get a leg up on a straight bet on whether it's black, red, even, odd, high, or low. Okay, skewing the payout. If you bet on an individual number, the payout is 35-to-1. This seems like a really good payoff, and it's playing on people's greed. A fair payoff would actually be 38-to-1 because there are 38 pockets on the wheel. So to recap, you get a 1-to-1 payout on black, but you only have a 47% chance of actually hitting black. Now when you bet on an individual number, you have a 35-to-1 payout, but there's 38 numbers on the wheel. Okay, now we've seen how the casinos create an edge with a roulette wheel. So, as long as they have that edge, they're going to keep winning. Now, is it possible to beat them? As a matter of fact, it is. There's something called roulette bias. There was an episode of Breaking Vegas from the History Channel. A family named the Los Palayos looked into what we're calling roulette bias, and what happened was they observed that over several thousands of spins of a roulette wheel, there were certain numbers that were coming up more often than statistically they should. Now, the reason for this happening is because the roulette wheels are mechanical in nature, so there's going to be imperfections in those wheels, and naturally there's going to be certain numbers that are going to come up more often than they should randomly. And this is called bias. Now, the key in order to win is that your edge has to supersede, it has to be greater than the house edge. Now, let's say that you observe that the number 4 is coming up approximately 1 out of every 34 spins. Now, your payout is 1 to 35. You now have an edge. So if you were to play that number 4 over the long term, then you'd make a profit. Now, as an advantage player, this is the kind of thinking that we have to employ. We have to set out to find these edges and exploit them wherever we can. And that's what these videos are going to be all about.